Good afternoon. Welcome to Less is More Coaching Podcast and Video Cast. Want to just start by giving you a little bit of a sound clip here to get us started today. And the show must go on. And here it is. Here's kind of a short sound clip. For being here today. My name is Coach Les, and I am here with Less is More Coaching Podcast and Video Cast here on mancavepodcasting.com on Clubhouse, where if you want to just show up and do a podcast, connect with mancavepodcasting.com. It's just spelt exactly the way it sounds, and set up a meeting with Steve Appel, the owner, and he will show you how to start a podcast with just yourself and showing up. And with that, he's on stage today. I am lucky to have him right next to me on stage on Clubhouse, along with this live broadcast. One of these days, I'll get him on here live in StreamYard, and we'll be able to share on all 4 platforms together across from here to California. Well, welcome, Steve. Thank you for being here today.
Coach, it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much. And if you choose to, you can mod me up with the green bean, and I'll ping some people in. But it is a privilege to have you regularly on mancavepodcasting.com. I love it. And by the way, your opening was fantastic.
This coming from many, many failed attempts. And Ginger, Kirby, and Anthony, it's great to have you in the audience. Thank you so much for being here. My intention, just FYI, over the next month or two, is to be bringing some guests in and out, and also have the opportunity to invite you, the 3 of you perhaps, up on stage if you want to come up on stage and go back and forth with conversations. And also for me to invite some people on StreamYard and do it live. I can have up to 10 people, 10 little smiling faces, which is kind of one of the cool things about StreamYard. And I can be publishing this not only here on Clubhouse, but on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. And then I capture the video and throw it out onto Instagram because, Facebook, it would be just so easy if Instagram could hook up like Facebook, since they're owned by the same company. But, the left hand doesn't like the right hand sometimes. So welcome to life.
And sometimes the left hand doesn't know what the heck the right hand is doing. Coach Les, I think in business they refer to that as a Chinese wall.
Oh, that would make sense. By the way, have you ever seen that movie, The Great Wall?
I'm going to say no.
Oh, I'm going to have to write that down to remind you. I'm going to put it on a little Post-it right now. It is a phenomenal movie. It's, it's the guy that played Jason Bourne. I can't remember his name.
Yes, that is Ben Affleck's partner. Ben Affleck's partner played Jason Bourne. He was in Good Will Hunting.
Yes. Yeah, he was a lot younger in that one. Woo-hoo. Well, I see Ginger is here. Hi, Ginger. How are you? Well, today I want to... Oh, sorry. Hi, Ginger. How are you?
I'm fine, Coach. How are you? Hi, Steve.
I'm blessed to perfection.
Hey, Ginger, I'm blessed to have you here.
Thank you very much. I feel blessed to be in your two's presence.
There's a lot of blessing going on. We might need a drink of holy water. So today's podcast is bringing about a conversation that I had earlier today that I want to share with everybody. And that is, it was crucial conversations in reference specifically to respect and how to build credibility with people in today's world, since respect is something that is absolutely seeming to be vanishing from the world. In just as little examples as when you cross a road and you help somebody across the road, it doesn't happen anymore. They're more likely to pickpocket that same person that they would have helped 20 years ago, and then run away. Or there's opening the doors for people that are coming behind you that even if they don't have stuff in their hands. The respect of when you speak to your elders, that you look at them with respect. Instead today it's like, oh, you're old, I don't want anything to do with any of the knowledge you have because it's old and it means nothing and it's going to do me no good. So then they go out and they try to create this change everything. And now we wonder why the world's so flippin' messed up. It's, it's like, here, let's delete our ancestors and then build from scrap. Well, what about building upon what the ancestors created and using that, since they've already built the foundation, getting people out of the swamp? So that's one of the things I'd love to cover today in the world of respect, and how to make it different and how to make it supportive along the path of crucial conversations today. I'm a Zig Ziglar coach and speaker. And as I come onto the podcast here, my goal is going to be bringing books, conversations, thoughts, and discussing them either mano a mano with me and myself and I, or with guests and people coming up and having conversations on stage and Clubhouse. That's going to be really the cool thing for me, is offering a chance to get all of this, what I call worldwide perspective. And with that, I'd like to formally say, hello, Ginger. What is your thoughts about respect?
Wow, that's quite a question. I was given a very good moral compass by my grandmother, who taught me respect, not just for my elders, but for the world around me. And I have always held it in a very important and a dear place in my life, in my heart, the respect that I had for my elders. They taught me lessons about life, but they also taught me lessons about my heritage, about acceptance, about love. So respect for any type, if it's your elders or just the world around you, is really important to me.
And out of curiosity, since thank you for being the female on the stage at the moment, what are your thoughts about, I grew up in an age when I was a kid at 8 years old, it was in the early 70s. And my parents, both my mom and my dad, taught me to be chivalrous in holding doors open, treating women with this great respect, not in deference to them or anything, really giving them the respect due that you would as a gentleman, specifically being a man that's gentle and not abusive, not above or condescending or anything like that, but treating the woman as an equal, and yet respecting her like I would to my dad or to a business associate, by opening a door and letting them walk in. How does that kind of chivalry, quote unquote, i.e. another version of respect, work for you? Does it leave you empowered? Does it leave you disempowered? What is your conversation about that?
That's a really good question. So I was raised with 4 boys. I have 4 brothers. One of the things that my dad and my grandmother, his mother, taught them was like the utmost respect for women, that you do treat them as an equal. Definitely with the opening of the doors. My brother sometimes would pull out my chair for me. They were very uber protective of me. That is something that I do not feel disempowered by. The fact that gentlemen can still be chivalrous is really, really important. And I think in this day and age, because there seems to be far too much of it's all about me when it comes to certain aspects of like relationships. So the fact that a gentleman can still hold a door open for me, or, you know, pull a chair out for me, if anything, I guess it does leave me feeling powerful. But it also just shows me that there's still courtesy and kindness in the world, and that there's still respect for, you know, for opposite sex.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I've even done it for, you know, if I happen to be in the right space, you know, I'll do it for a guy, right? If a guy's got something, you know, a briefcase or something, or something in their hands, I will pull out a chair and say, have a seat. And they're like, they look at me like I've just grew legs or something, you know. And for me, it's one of those things. It's like, if I can offer that ease of life and be gracious with it, and it costs me nothing but a little bit of physicality and a smile, right, to be able to give that service. And I guess it's, you know, I might have to throw in a disclaimer that I come from the hospitality industry, spending, you know, 40 years as a server, bartender slash everything restaurant. And I enjoy making people feel special. I enjoy making people feel taken care of, and leaving them with a smile and a gift of something that doesn't cost anything, and it didn't cost them anything. Does that communicate?
Absolutely. And I think it's not just the aspect of it being respectful. I think it's courteous. And if you were raised by people who were respectful and courteous and kind, doing those things like opening a door, or even being on like a bus and offering a person your seat. I've done that countless times when I've been on Metro, especially if it's an elder. I will always offer my seat. It's just, and it is a service that is free. I like the way that you put that. It costs them nothing. And if it leaves you with a smile, to me, a smile is like the biggest payment in the world. When we started wearing masks and I could not smile at someone at a grocery store,
oh my God,
killed me. It killed me. I hated it.
Yep.
But now that we can, and let's hope it's not just temporary, that's a big deal. So that courtesy and respect, and just showing that to you know, the humankind is in this day and age, and it helps in so many aspects of everyone's life. I mean, from just if you're having a crappy day and someone holds the door open for you or says thank you, that means a lot. That really means a lot.
100%. And I think that as we get into this conversation a little, one of the things that, you know, this morning, you know, people were bringing up is parents are no longer taking the time to teach their children. Therefore, we can't even blame the children for not having this skill set. It really is the parents that have neglected their duties, or said, big deal, who cares? You know, what do we need to do this for? I didn't get it. I don't know if it's that big of a deal. And they choose not to pass it on.
You know what? I agree. And this is what I think. And I'm a parent of a 13-year-old. very interesting, trying age. And I have a boy. One of the things I instilled in him, and it was something that was pressed upon me growing up, was the respect, the courtesy, and politeness. I can definitely say, and I probably am biased because I am his mother, my son is one of the politest kids I know. And I will have friends or even strangers go, God, he is so polite. He held the door open for me. We even had an older woman at the grocery store who is a woman we know from the neighborhood. She had a lot of groceries and she opted to take them out by herself. And my son ran over to her car and put them in her car for her. And I thought, yeah, that is something that I instilled in my kid because it was instilled in me by my parents and my grandparent. Those are very important learning lessons for children, I believe, in this day and age, because unfortunately, a lot of parents, and I'm not talking about anyone in particular in the room. It's just that it's so much easier to let our kids have their face buried in their phones or their laptops or some gaming system. We're not teaching them lessons. We're not letting them explore the outside world. I will often say to my son, if he's been in his room on his laptop or, on his gaming system, that I call him a vampire. I'm like, you got to get out of this dark room. You need some sunlight. You're going to go socialize. We're going to go for a walk. We're going to get out. We're just going to go experience the outside world. And I think more parents need to do that. Again, going to the park costs nothing. Going for a walk costs nothing. And I'm a mom on a budget, so I know. But having your kids witness other people being kind and courteous and showing respect is also very important, because then they can connect with their peers on that. Plus, they can also see that the parents that are being raised, that the parents that are raising their friends are people with good morals. And so they feel comfortable. And so, being able to expose my kid to that in this day and age, I think is very important. I think it's important for all children across the globe.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Have you, do you know who Ori Spato is?
I do not.
So he's been on Clubhouse. He's known as the accidental gangster, the Hollywood mob boss. And he was incarcerated for 6 years and he came out and now he's, turned his life to making a difference. And, he didn't kill anybody. He wasn't that. He was more of a fixer. And one of the things that he says when you talk to him and says, what do you think is missing with today's youth? And, he's one of these, he sounds a little like the Godfather. He still smokes cigarettes. And you can hear when he's on Clubhouse, you can hear him, his phone rings, you can hear all sorts of things in the background. It's like he doesn't care, this is who I am, right? And the door will ring and he'll answer it while he's still off mute. And he's just one of those great people, and he is super respectful when it comes to speaking to women. You can hear it speaking to men, even on Clubhouse. And one of the things he said when we were doing a survey, and I was on one of these video weekends with him with the Psychology of Winning, the summit. And he said, respect is missing. I'm going to be doing classes on respect because I think I would have a lot of fun teaching the youth of today what is respect. And, to hear that from him, it's like, wow, I almost felt ashamed, because it's like, here's somebody in the senior years of, in the sunset of his life, and he's looking at this world that he's leaving behind, and his view is there's no respect anymore. And, we all know that Rodney Dangerfield has that whole saying, right? I don't get no respect at all. And I think that there is more of that. I think it was of course, a comedy movie. And yet I look at that and I think that foreshadowed the age we're living in. We're living in this age where people don't care about other people's feelings outside of perhaps even their nuclear family. They don't care. They don't see any value. They don't see any reason why Visionary, Ginger, Michael, and Ayobami should be respected. They just look and go, it's just a human, it's just another number. Who cares? There are billions more out there. And I want to change that story. Go ahead, Ginger.
But do you think it's people not caring, or do you think it is laziness?
Oh, all of the above. I think that laziness, it's they've stopped caring to the point of, oh, do I have to do that? Oh, you know what? It's much easier. My life will be much easier if I don't have to. And in that moment, the laziness, I think, hits. So welcome to the stage, Visionary. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing good. Just coming from my next group. Just to hear what's going on inside here.
Yeah, we're talking about, what we were talking about before. In fact, I just quoted you a little bit ago from our first show earlier, and I wanted to put this onto the podcast this afternoon, talking a little bit about respect and what people were sharing from that first room. And I'd love it if you would share again, Visionary, and just say what your view is about respect, because now from the horse's mouth, it'll sound a lot better than what I recaptured.
All right. Definitely will share my input on what you have asked. But hi, Ginger. Good day. My input on respect on today's youths, and what do I think is affecting today's youth? Why they don't respect, their elders or seniors? For me, I think they don't respect each other anymore. They don't respect us anymore as adults because we put them in the same space as ourselves. As in, the things we do as adults, we involve most of our kids inside that forum. So when they're developing, they think, me and mommy and daddy is in the same forum. So I could definitely speak to mommy and daddy anyway. If I could speak to mommy and daddy anyway, who am I not to speak to that man who I just met on the road anyway? Who am I not to speak to that woman I met on the road anyway? So I think, as I mentioned earlier in the other group, like, if we could pin some stuff from the start, like from 0 to 5, and find out, like, throughout the time when your parents was bringing you up, the type of encounters you have around them, where they're arguing, where they're teaching you the basic stuff, like, do not touch that, ask for that stuff. And I think most of us who got that treatment from when, we were at a certain age, we grew up with that respect and we maintain it. But for the ones who grew up or raised themselves, it would be hard to find a role model in the household to say, hey, listen, while doing that, you need to respect that individual. While talking to that individual, you don't need to be, breaking them down in order to get your message across. You could just definitely have a conversation without, telling that person that, oh, your dad, or you're big or you're small, whatever the increments may be. You just need to find a boundary where we all could, see each other as one, and not that he's better than me or she's better than me, or he's getting more paid than me or she's getting more paid than me, but come to a mutual ground where we all could just appreciate each other for what we have. Thank you.
I love it. Hey, Steve.
Hey. Sorry I had to leave. I had a potential new client on the phone, and unless you are a coach, a business coach, business comes before podcast.
Amen.
Coach, just before you go, I'm sorry, Steve, to cut you off. How can I gain some of the knowledge from the coaching experience, so I could make my own podcast be better, to present to people?
Ooh, well, I just happen to know this expert named Steve, who you are about to meet. This is his club, visionary. So you're in the right space at the right moment with the right question.
Thank you.
That's right. And also let me say that Coach Les and I have negotiated a very beneficial deal for him and myself. So, visionary, I can pretty much assure you that I can negotiate a very favorable deal for you where I can help you with your podcast.
And I would really appreciate that, because I have a drive, I have wisdom, I have understanding, I also have knowledge, and I have a lot of things I would like not only to say, but to do, not only for myself, but for my community, just to try to uplift them. But in order for me to do that, I need to equip myself with the right armory in order to go out there and, get the message across. So yeah, I'm definitely interested into learning anything that, is given to me.
Well, all you have to do, buddy, is send me a back channel, and we'll go ahead and audition you on one of the podcasts. And we are Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. And you can co-host when you have you're ready to take it on your own, like Coach Les is. Then you can do it at your convenience, which is 1:15 Pacific Standard Time. If you want to do it anytime you're ready to go for it. But trust me, the price is right. Come on down.
I love it. That's awesome.
That's so serious.
Ginger, and I want to say, Ginger also is doing her own podcast, and maybe she wants to say what the Man Cave podcasting experience is like. And before Ginger hopefully contributes, I also want to say, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, mancavepodcasting.com, that's a pejorative term. You know what? It's just something I grabbed up about 4 or 5 years ago. It's just a name, but, well, I'll leave it to that. Ginger, how's your experience with mancavepodcasting.com?
Hi, Visionary. So I was incredibly blessed and lucky that I got to meet Mr. Steve Appel, who totally was behind my idea for my podcast. I'm an erotic blogger, so therefore my podcast is erotic. It can be on the risque. Even want to say R-rated side, but he was fully open to the idea of me putting my word out there and unleashing, wink, wink, Ginger on the world. I have had a marvelous part of the Man Cave podcasting family. It has generated a lot more lookers to my blog site, which is gingershades.net. Very fortunate. I'm so hoping that I can generate some more business for mancavepodcasting.com. April will be a year that I have been doing my podcasts. Truly just so incredibly blessed that I came across this particular company, this particular individual to get to introduce the world to Ginger Shades. I'm very, very lucky. It's been a fabulous experience.
And let me just say that Ginger made it clear when she first came on that her idea was to drive more traffic to her website. And so we designed the podcast together, and we decided, with her, of course, having final approval, that what we were doing was not only going to drive more traffic to her website, which she's had in existence since before she met me, but also to increase the exposure to mancavepodcasting.com. And I don't mind telling you that neither Coach Les nor Ginger pay me a single dollar. It's, essentially, I help you, you help me. And with that, we work together to benefit both of us in, I guess you would call it, a symbiotic relationship. And that's I'm not looking to take advantage of people, and hopefully people are not looking to take advantage of me. And Coach Les, maybe you want to comment on that, and then we can throw it back to Visionary. It's up to you, bud. It's your show.
Well, I think that's for me. I think some of the technicalities of podcasting and some of the, as I call you, my executive producer, were invaluable, right? And now, I mean, I've been, God is a funny guy in my life, because he keeps producing these miracles for me. And every time I turn around, serendipity happens. For instance, poof, here Visionary comes in. He spent time with me earlier today, and I'd love to support the guy. And he comes and says, "Hey, Coach, do you know this?" And here you are, right? I've been praying to God about my soundboard and getting my soundboard hooked up, and I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to do any damage to it. And, I suddenly meet a sound engineer that's looking for coaching. So for me, Man Cave Podcasting offers that expertise and that extra finishing touch that I think is imperative to producing and production and getting it all set out there for the public. And I think that's the thing that gave me the comfort now to stand on StreamYard and stand here with you all doing a podcast / video cast. And, Steve, you made that possible. So thank you.
Well, it's my pleasure. And go ahead, Visionary. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying, I heard everybody, and I heard everyone, sorry. And I really want to, it's been something I've been thinking about, not only since I met you today, Coach. I've been actually discussing this with my brother since December, that there's just a lot of movements I want to do this year in chapter for myself, and self-development. And I think this would be one of the best things, like getting my voice out there, getting people to, be aware of a lot of things, help my brothers and sisters in terms of guidance, and, help my business to be striving in today's society by just using the podcast and this forum. Oh, yeah, I like my plane. Thank you.
Awesome. I love it. Steve?
Well, just I missed the last minute he said. What did he say? Anything specific, or what? Was there a question?
No, I'm just putting it to you. If there's anything else you want to add to what we've all said about mancavepodcasting.com.
Better than sliced bread, baby.
I think that, to be able to, in fact, I'm going to type a little banner here while you continue to chat, Steve, on my social media here.
Yeah, sure. Is there a particular topic, Coach?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You really did miss it all. We're talking about respect, and respect with today's youth, and how it's missing. How could we put it back in? What does it look like to you? What does it sound like to you?
Yeah. there's clearly a lot of disrespect, both on social media, Clubhouse, even the media. I think there's a reason for that. Disrespect attracts looks and it drives traffic. Very rarely do you see on YouTube a group of people peacefully protesting, but quite often you see violent things happening, you see disrespectful things happening, you see law enforcement called to the scene, and then things that potentially started out peaceful end up not peaceful. And that's because, unfortunately, that's what drives content. And I think that more of an emphasis, at least in the rooms that I hold, our goal, I have very few rules in my room. And by the way, Visionary, you can set the rooms, your podcast, any way you want. You know, I can absolutely answer questions and give suggestions, but it's eventually your decision. I believe in social discourse without personal attacks in my room.
Amen.
And I'll as Clubhouse vernacular goes, I'll land my proverbial Clubhouse plane. The first time I met Coach Les almost a year ago on Clubhouse, we were in a room together and we vehemently disagreed on a topic. We were at opposite sides of the spectrum, and we spent 15 to 20 minutes both emphasizing our point of view. And at the end of 15 to 20 minutes, we still disagreed. Both of us were vehemently opposed on our opinion, but we had social discourse. We did not have personal attacks. We left as friends, and we've remained partners ever since. And my plane has landed.
Awesome. Visionary, did that give you enough background for what you were looking for?
Yes, definitely. For any more questions, I'll text you guys in the back line.
Perfect. Abdul, come on up. I know you were trying to get up earlier today. Now, why can't I bring him up?
And I just sent him an invite to, and here he is.
There he is. How are you today, Abdul? Well, I'm going to jump ahead. I jumped ahead of the line here. Lance, welcome to the stage. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm trying to get a Southern Alabama or Lower Alabama accent down for a scene I'm doing tomorrow in a film.
Well, y'all better talk a little bit more Southern than that.
Well, I'm not using the accent. It's confusing because, well, this has nothing to do with your topic. I don't want to throw you off topic, but
actually, it's a very good. We could bring it into the topic, because one of the things that I have noticed about Southern people is they are much more respectful than Northerners.
Well, could be. There's a cultural difference around the United States, and certainly Southerners can have a more gentle approach to things depending on where they are. It's just the director of this film seems to be obsessed with a Lower Alabama accent, but I've done a lot of research now on it, and it turns out there are so many variations, and it depends on whether they're Old South or people that came there after World War II or during World War II to work in the plants or whatever, even around Mobile. And listening to people from there, they all sound a bit different, you know?
Yeah. Steve, what is your take on accents?
My take on accents. Okay. Well, I'm familiar with the accent of the South. I'm not familiar with the individual dialects of the Southern accent. So I would ask Lance, does he have any specific questions?
Well, not for the group here. I think we could talk about the disrespectful youth topic probably better. It's just that, in certain regions they hit the R's harder, in certain they roll it. It's like the word daughter. If I was going to say daughter, I'd say daughter, but they would change the D to a T and they would they draw the AU out, be like daughter. But some of them hit the R hard and some of them turn an R sound to an AH, and it's all over the place. Daughter. Yeah, but that's more northern and southern. They hit the R's, blah, 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 blah. I think that, to your topic at hand, that whenever you have somebody that is angry and bitter for whatever reason, they're looking for a way to externalize it. And then they look for a target for that. And that leads their anger and their bitterness leads them to be disrespectful.
Okay, now I can answer Lance's question, and then Coach Les, if you want to talk about the respect issue. But I can hopefully successfully answer the dialect question. Lance, what you need to do is you need to find probably a YouTube or something like that of someone with like a northern accent, and then a separate YouTube of someone with a southern accent, northern, southern, both from the South. You then download those onto your desktop. Hopefully they're 1 minute or two, no longer. And then what you want to do is practice. You want to practice playing back both of those YouTubes and then emulating or imitating what is being said on the screen, so you can, at a moment's notice, imitate the difference between those two accents. So you need to practice it. And then you will be able, at a moment's notice or at a director's snap of the fingers, to either go with one or the other accent. That would be my recommendation, to practice both accents. And I'll leave it to Coach Les to talk to you about the disrespect issue.
What are your thoughts about that, Lance?
Well, I have listened to YouTube. I appreciate the input there, Steve. I have listened to different YouTube things. I've even looked for what some of the dialect coaches refer to as an Alabama type accent. Forrest Gump is an accent that's kind of from that area. But the problem is he was playing a character that was mentally challenged, so that rounds things. In comparison, a northern, like I have friends from there's the Jersey accent people talk like this here, but I don't know. I'm not trying to put too fine of a point on it. I'd rather talk about why those darn disrespectful youth. So how about that?
Understood. And I just happen to have had my 4 o'clock cancel, Steve. So with your permission, we can keep going.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, so here's the thing. And I'm going to be very curious to hear Ginger's take on this as well. So I'm setting the stage for that. One of the things I also think is, when it comes to the law force of today, and also the political world of today, I believe that we have a complete disrespect for law and order and our political system. Now, do I believe that they have earned it? Have they made such a travesty and such a social media / TV newspaper. They've media sized it so badly that it seems that the integrity of either side is so corrupt that we are left with this example for our teenage youth and for our youth that, one, the media says don't respect the police, two, don't respect authority, and definitely don't respect our government.
You're talking about the legacy media?
Legacy media is in, I'm just talking about all media, CNN, Fox, everything.
Well, that's legacy media.
Okay.
That's the way I see it.
And I just think they've left this, who do we believe? And so our youth who used to be able to go to, I'm in Minnesota here, used to be able to go to WCCO, and we would hear news that had an inclination towards Democrats and an inclination towards Republicans. And it created an open environment for us to choose, because they laid it out facts for both sides, which they were very good at. And in the last few years, it seems to me that media is completely disrespected, because they say something and somebody has a friend with a video camera, with a mobile phone, standing next to the reporter, pointing the phone the other direction, where it's completely different from what the reporter's saying. So how do we expect to create respect with our youth and an upcoming generation when there is such a disrespect for valid news? Notice I didn't say truthful news or honest news. I said valid.
Yeah, well, Coach Les, I can comment on that. Unfortunately, I think the media has done that to themselves. I think this is the media's own fault. Coach Les, I'm sure you remember when Walter Cronkite in the 80s was the most trusted man in America.
Unbelievable.
Now, excuse me?
I said unbelievable. He definitely was.
Now you have people saying, well, Fox News is to the right and CNN is to the left. Well, they're not referring to news. They're referring to the editorial commentators. They're referring to people like Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, that come on and give their opinion. They're not talking about news. News is who, what, when, where, and arguably how and why. It's not I think. It's not people are bad, people are good, this is right and this is wrong, and Donald Trump is the Messiah, or Donald Trump is the devil. That's not news. That's opinion and editorial. So when we have large portions of the population attacking the news, it's because a lot of it's not news. The media did this to themselves. Yeah. And I think the media deserves what it's getting. But I know a lot of people will disagree with me.
Lance, go ahead.
I'll say really quickly. If you want real news, go to your local news channels. Go to 5, 9, and 11 and 13, local news. You see less, if hardly any at all, editorializing. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Well, I'm not sure that's true in Los Angeles. Maybe where you are. But, you know, news is a for-profit business. And they know who their target audience is, and they play to their audience. And so they're going to edit things in a way that speaks to their target audience so that they can... shit. Sorry about that. My whole headset just pulled out. Can you guys hear me?
Beautifully.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So it's a for-profit business, and they're just targeting their audience, and they know that it works, because if they were doing the news in a different style and they weren't making money off it, they would do something else. There is a complete lack of integrity. It's pretty much all propaganda. And that's the way it is. As Walter Cronkite might say, that's the way it is. So what are you going to do when it's a for-profit business and they know who their audience is and they know what their audience wants to hear? Also, news is one source of information, but a larger source, particularly for probably people 40 and younger, is social media. And social media has algorithms that are designed to keep feeding you more of the same stuff. You look at it. And so what happens is there's one group of people that only gets information towards one side, another group towards the other, and neither side can understand the other. So what do you say about that?
I'll be happy to tell you what I say about that. Firstly, I'm born, raised, continue to live in Los Angeles. So I'm going to stand on what I said about local news channels 5, 9, 11, and 13 considerably less editorial and opinionated than the networks 2, 4, and 7. As far as social media, you need to look at the source just like anything else. Social media is not news. Social media is exactly what those two words say. Now, if somebody on social media wants to post what they're referring to as a news report, then I take a look at where the news report is coming. And I know this room is not about ethics and integrity in broadcasting and news, but that is my opinion. That's what I say.
All right. Well, I don't watch the news anyway, because 40 years ago, I decided not to listen to news because it's all something that could just either make me angry or nothing I could do anything about. And if something big enough shows up, I'll hear about it. And so far, my experiment of 40 years has been correct.
Amen. I love that, Lance. Welcome to my world.
Well, I mean, look. It started 40 years ago when they were doing a teaser, and it was like, is there something in your own backyard that could injure or kill you? Letitia Ordaz reports, News 10 at 11. And of course, the teaser goes on, and I eventually watched the broadcast. And towards the bottom of the hour, you know, between sports and weather, they finally get to her special report. And she's standing in someone's backyard. And she's like, I'm here in an ordinary backyard. What is here that could injure or kill you or seriously harm your children? It's these trees. And the whole story was about trees falling over and squishing kids. And then they go to some guy named Orville Potter, some tree surgeon's like, it's the fastest growing kind of injury we have here in the backyard. And it's like, are you kidding me? I wasted my time for that stupid story. And I said, I'm done with the news.
No, fair enough. And I would like to just briefly further explore that example that you just gave. So based on that example, would you consider that Republican or Democrat or right wing or left wing?
Well, it's neither. It's just basically trying to
Yes.
get you. It's just trying to get your adrenaline going and get people to worry, so they'll tune in. If it bleeds, it leads, right? but people aren't taught to think. Okay, Steve and Coach, you may be, and Robert, I don't know, you may be thinking people. I know how to think, but you know that phrase: 2% can think, 3% think they think, and 95% would rather die than think. And if you can't think, then you can't discern. And if you can't discern, well,
and thank you for saying that. What I know really quickly is I belong to over 10, if not a dozen different news sources that barrage me daily, multiple times. I discard about 90% of them without even reading the story, just looking at the title. And the 10% that I keep, I discard another 50 to 75% after reading the first sentence or two. So when you say thinking, I like to think that I have a good quality, which anybody else can have if they want to spend the time to learn how to at least practice critical thinking and disseminate between the 90%, pardon me, Coach Les, of bullshit and the 10% of what is actual fact. And thank you, Lance, for bringing that up.
Well, how do you teach children to think? When I dated a school teacher from the Midwest for almost a decade, and she said, we're not allowed to teach kids how to think. What we have to do is teach them to perform well on the standardized tests so that we get funding every year. And that's all we do, is we teach to the test and to certain standards. We don't teach them how to say, if something's true, what else would be true, or discern.
Yeah, I didn't have my first critical thinking class until college. I had my first, what I call my valuable social studies class, which was really a class in learning how people think, why they do what they do, in 11th, 12th grade. And yes, I understand about the basic study skills or whatever it is, that if 75% of the students don't pass, then the school does not get funding and is taken over by the state. It's not as difficult as it seems to implement, but it's very difficult to follow through with. And that is, you have to teach children, you have to teach people, you have to teach adults, very simply, the difference between fact and opinion. You don't have to agree with the opinion, but you need to learn how to agree on what the facts are, because you really cannot thoroughly examine and digest the opinions, which of course people disagree with, until you first are able to agree on the facts. If you cannot agree on the facts, then I maintain you cannot have an intelligent, valuable discussion regarding opinion. That's what I think.
And you're completely right. Coach, I don't want to cut you off if you have something to say. I was going to give another example from right here on Clubhouse.
Awesome. Go for it.
Right.
Lance,
So
I have very different rooms. I just allow the flow of conversation to happen, and I keep the integrity.
And you're being organic about it. Cool. So let's roll the clock back. I don't know, was it a few months ago when Bill Cosby was released from state prison, whenever that was? And I read the Supreme Court of, Pennsylvania's opinion. So I understood what the actual facts were of the case, and I understood the court's reasoning. As a lawyer of over 30 years, I've read a lot of opinions, and I know how to do it quickly. and know where they're thinking. So I just thought I'd pop into the room the day that he had been released to see what people were saying. It was a huge room. Everyone was talking over everyone else. Everyone was trying to shout down another. And I showed up in the room and I just wanted to listen, but then someone wanted me to come up on stage and talk. So I did. And after they shouted enough people down, so they would just, so I could actually say something, I was about to leave. It was annoying, frankly. I said, well, how many people in the room that want to talk about this have read the Supreme Court opinions? Well, none. This is a huge room. Huge. None. And I said, well, why don't some of you guys who want to talk about it, don't read the whole 70 pages. Go back to the last page of the opinion. It's online. You can find it easily. Just Google it. Go back about 3 or 4 paragraphs, and that's always what the court's reasoning is in every case, going back 200 years. Except they didn't have word processors and stuff 200 years ago, so they had to get to the point quickly. And then go back and read the first 6, 7 pages, which are the actual admitted, admissible, under oath facts of the case. And once you have that understanding, you'll see why the court reasoned the way it did, and you'll know what really happened, and then we can have an intelligent conversation. So I invite people to consider reading that and then come back. Did anyone want to do that? No, they just wanted to scream at each other with their opinions. So what do you do?
Right. And I presume the room, and I wasn't in the room, I presume the room was set up. Was the Supreme Court decision right or wrong? And no one bothered to put in the work to actually read the decision. I mean, Lance, I don't know if you read all 70 pages. I basically just caught some blurbs on social media. But I know that human nature, it's a lot easier to stick to your opinion when you have people that are agreeing with your opinion rather than taking...
And everybody, I'm going to be ending the virtual video cast of today's show. And as you can hear in the background, one of the fun things, it's continuing to ripple in Clubhouse. And I invite any of you that have not been to Clubhouse to come and take a visit. Come and find me. I'm Coach Les on Clubhouse with special. When you're ready, check me out. Send me a text. Love to answer any questions you have about respect. It really is a wonderful topic, and there's many avenues to work on. And I look forward to creating with you. Thank you so much today. And here we go.
Coaching with Les has doubled my practice.
If you have any struggles in your business or your personal life, Les is your guide.
He's logical, he's empathetic, he has passion for helping people, and his ideas are genuinely thoughtful.
So if you're looking for a business coach with integrity, choose Les Hill.